How's it going? How's it going? It's a glorious Monday. It's a really glorious Monday. More ways than one. I do know that today is September the 11th, 9/11th. I could talk about the attacks on America that happened 22 years ago, or I could talk about what's happening now. And it's glorious. It is glorious, like the weather in Austin. It's 94 degrees according to my thermometer in the car, and it feels nice outside. It's glorious. But never forget 9/11. So this is how it started. I mean, there is a video. I'm not going to play the video because it really doesn't matter. New Mexico governor issues orders to suspend the right to carry firearms in public across Albuquerque. New Mexico Governor Michelle Lewin Grisham on Friday issued an emergency order suspending the right to carry firearms in public across Albuquerque and the surrounding county for at least 30 days in response to a spat of gun violence. The Democratic governor says that she expects legal challenges, but was compelled to act because of recent shootings, including the death of an 11-year-old boy outside a minor league baseball stadium this week. It's very tragic. Every time a child is lost, our future is hurt. I stand by that. There's a right way of doing it and a wrong way to doing it. One way to do it is to go after the criminal, make sure that these monsters are put away behind bars for a very, very long time. The governor said that the state police will be responsible for enforcing what amounts to be civil violations. Albuquerque Police Chief Harold Medina said he won't enforce it, and Bellano County Sheriff John Allen said he's uneasy about it because it raises too many questions about the constitutional rights. The firearm suspension, classified as an emergency public health order, applies to open and concealed carry in most public places, from the city walks to the urban recreational parks. The restriction is tied to a threshold of violent crime rates currently only met by the Metropolitan Albuquerque Police, and licensed security guards are exempt from their temporary ban. Violators could face civil penalties and a fine up to $5,000. The Google National spokesperson Carolyn Sweeting said, under the order, residents can still transport guns into some private locations, such as gun ranges or gun stores, provide the firearm that has a trigger lock and some other container mechanism making it impossible to discharge. But I'll go through these two. I support gun safety, but there's no such thing as a state public health emergency exception in the U.S. Constitution. You have the right to free speech unless there is a public health emergency that prevents you from speaking. You have a right to the Second Amendment unless there's a public health emergency. I don't remember what the third is, but you got your fourth and your fifth, all the way up to the 14th, and a few others. You have the right to remain silent. Anything said will be used to be against you, except a public health emergency. So tell us you're guilty. Tell us you're guilty because there's a public health emergency exceptions. Oh, we're going to search your house. We have no warrant, but it's a public health emergency. Therefore, you have no rights to privacy, security, and privacy because of a public health emergency. Because if the founding fathers says that there's going to be emergencies that come up that could suspend civil liberties, then you could just have a public emergency exception. Now, I don't 100% agree with that. I do think if there's going to be emergency powers, the state Congress should pass it saying, here is your emergency powers. Here's what you can do. And here are some examples what you can't do, but we're going to give you narrow emergency powers, and this is how it's going to last. And if we choose, we could vote to extend this, but it's up to us to extend it. Not for the governor to play a king or a queen or emperor or empress. That was David Hogg. He's an interesting person. He shoots shotguns. He supports the Second Amendment, but he also doesn't support the Second Amendment when it comes to AR-15s and AKs. Ted Loon, I support gun safety laws. However, this order from the governor of New Mexico violates the U.S. Constitution. No state in the union can suspend the federal Constitution. There's no such thing as a state public health emergency exception in the Constitution. Pretty much verbatim what David Hogg has said. Like I said, this is glorious. This is glorious news. This is a glorious day to be celebrated, to remember. This news is awesome. This has turned out to be one of the best 9/11s that we had in a long time. Now I get it. Not everyone's pro-gun. Not everyone's pro-civil liberties. I get it. But I find it amazing. I find it fun. I find it awesome when we can have this dialogue and you have people that you're supposed to be against chime in and saying, you stepped too far. Lost the plot, as I put in the title. The Independent. Oh, it gets better. The Independent News, World, America, U.S. Politics. Armed protests in New Mexico over governor's emergency order suspending the right to carry firearms in public. The ban will last 30 days, and we already know this. Heavily armed protesters gather in Albuquerque, New Mexico, to protest the governor's emergency order suspending the right to carry firearms in public. Crowds gather at the Old Town Plaza after New Mexico Democrat Governor Michelle Grisham instituted a temporary ban on carrying firearms in public in certain parts of the state. The ban will last 30 days and will apply to Albuquerque. Yeah. We know this. The majority of the protesters were armed with Verity firearms, displaying in the open. According to the reports, Republican New Mexico House Representative member Steffi Lord also attended the protest. The Congresswoman Lord announced on X, previously known as Twitter, on Saturday that she, along with Republican John Block of Ontario County, were calling for the governor's impeachment and claimed that emergency orders violate the governor's oath to protect and defend the rights of New Mexicans. At the protest, the Congresswoman Lord said that she's already filed articles of impeachment and expect to carry out the effort forward. It has to go our legal counsel first, and we plan to pursue this all the way, and it's going to depend on if we get support the Democrat side, and we actually might with this, she said, because it's gone too far. Every single person agrees that what she did is illegal. Meanwhile, another protester told Albuquerque Journal the governor's emergency order was targeting the wrong people. She's going after wrong people. The protester says, I pay my taxes. I'm a God-fearing American, and I think we should have our Second Amendment rights. I'm here for that. I mean, go after the criminals. Go after the criminals. I know that's such a novel idea. Go after the criminals. Charge them with the highest charge you can and get the highest number of years you can behind bars. That's my personal opinion. You can get the reload. New Mexico openly defies Governor Kerry ban. Albuquerque protests. It's September 11th. More than hundreds of people openly carried firearms at Albuquerque Park on Sunday as an act of protest. The governor emergency suspension to carry rights. The protesters signed and gave speeches against the Democratic governor. Emergency order banning both open and concealed carry in the city surrounding the county for 30 days. Many of those in attendance also carried firearms. According to multiple videos, the event was published by news outlets. We're not here to cause any issues. We're just here to, express our amendment rights. Gun owner identified by KOV4 as Derek J. told news station, we'll go from here. New Mexico Department of Public Safety did not respond to questions from a question from Relo whether or not anyone was arrested or cited carrying in defiance of the orders. However, KLV4 reported that representatives told the channel no citations were given out. Because not only were they expressing their First Amendment, they're expressing their Second Amendment through their First Amendment. Because, clothing could be considered a First Amendment. And if you're wearing your gun, it's considered clothing, right? The protests and the lack of encouragement signal from Governor Order may end up doing little more than sending a message and flood of lawsuits with 4 filed as in many days, combined with political backlash, especially from gun control advocates, indicating it's a losing message. There's so much that even local political allies have refused to get on board with the enforcement of the ban. APD is not responsible for enforcing the governor's ban. Our officers will continue to enforce all criminal laws, combat gun violence, and push for the needed justice in our city, Albuquerque Mayor Tim Keller said on Friday. As elected sheriff, I have reservation regarding this order. Bernardo County Sheriff John said in a statement, while I understand and appreciate the urgency, the temporary ban challenges the foundation of our Constitution, which I swore an oath to uphold. I'm wary of placing my deputies in a position that could lead to civil liability conflicts as well as potential risk of prohibiting law-abiding citizens from their constitutional right to self-defense. Second Amendment is about self-defense. It's also about tyranny. I mean, you got this sheriff, you got this mayor that fears its people, and the people says, we're not giving up our Second Amendment. That sends a powerful message to the governor that our rights will not be trampled on. That's what makes this so glorious, is that we're fighting back. I mean, I get that was on September the 10th. I don't think that there's currently protests going on. And if it is, good for them. They should do this for the full 30 days. It's glorious. Civil disobedience is a perfectly good protest. And I find that glorious. I find that great. I find it as glorious as the 94-degree weather that I'm having in Austin, Texas. Now, some of you may say 94, that's way too hot. Well, when you've been dealing with triple digits, not like New Mexico. I think New Mexico gets in the between 110 and 119. But when it goes down to 94 and we're used to 105, 106, 107, 94 feels like a cool fall or autumn night. It's glorious. It's glorious. And I'm just going to end it there because that's how glorious it is. With that being said, that is my video for today. Leave a comment down below. Do you agree with me that this is a glorious moment that we should celebrate? Not to be overstated to remember 9/11 and the victims that we lost, the first responders that sacrifice their lives to save people of the World Trade Center, and the people that responded to the Pentagon and that flight that went down that didn't hit anything other than the ground. With that being said, that is my video. Leave a comment down below what your thoughts are. But most importantly, have yourself a wonderful day, morning, or evening.